July the 30th, 2019. Guys, you're looking now at the Pacific Ocean, and Hawaii's just to the center of left here. And you guys have got a Cat 3 hurricane headed for you. You've got a second system there that's called Flossie that will be a hurricane by the end of the day. And you've got a system that they're watching behind that. We'll take a look at it. Now, you again, to the left of center, you see the Big Island. That's where we watched all the volcanic activity at last year. Now, the predicted cone, and it is moving north by northwest, is this area that I'm talking about. Now, this northwest quadrant, guys, that's your most powerful part of the storm in any hurricane. If the further that this storm tracks into that cone northward, the more impact it will be not only on the Big Island, but on all of the islands as it's tracking this direction. But if you go into 2 a.m. Thursday, you're still at a hurricane. But as it starts to get close to the islands, you're in cooler water and it's getting down to a tropical storm. But guys, the inertia in front of a Cat 3 hurricane carries much further in front of it and for a longer amount of time. Even after it goes down to a tropical storm by Friday morning, the impacts and the inertia of that right front quadrant, it will loop over each one of these islands. And this is not the size of the storm in the white dotted area, but somewhere in this area will be the center of the storm. So if it's at the top of the cone, close to the islands, you'll see the most impact at that point. Again, another timing chart to earliest reasonable arrival time of these tropical storm force winds. This is out in front of the Hurricane Eric. And you can see that by Thursday at 8 a.m., you're at the center of the Big Island. By Thursday at 8 p.m. that night, you're kind of in the center of the three smaller islands. And it's going to be a Thursday through Friday night event. And then it depends on the size of the storm and the exact tracking. Kind of like we're watching this front disturbance over in the Atlantic weekend events. Now, behind that, you've got Flossie. And behind that, you have a system that they're watching that has about a 20% chance of development. It's on the same path. But if you'll notice in this particular satellite image, we have that northwest drift towards the islands. Now, that's good and bad. The further north it drifts, it gets into cooler water, and it will lessen the intensity. But remember, the inertia of the storm, even if the center dies down to a tropical depression, has already been exerted out in front of it. And Flossie does not look like it's anything to play with, but you've got Eric at a Cat 3 at 115 miles an hour. Cat 3s begin at 111 mile per hour sustained winds. But you got Flossie, but what we're looking at, if you do the overlay, is not Flossie, but this system behind it. Is a 20% chance of development in the next 5 days. It's off the coast of Acapulco. So you got 3 in a row here. All of this is coming from the convergence zone on our planet. This is Flossie's projected path and strengthening. Again, if you notice to the far right, tropical storm. But today, going into the day before Wednesday morning, you're already into hurricane status. And it looks like it's a north-northwest pattern. It may end up being a little further north than Eric, guys, because it's already kind of moving that way. But it's, each time you see it move northward, you're getting closer to cooler water. But notice all the way through 2 a.m. Sunday, you still have a hurricane on your hands. And just as you're recovering from whatever effects that you see from Hurricane Eric, you're going to be watching this one, kind of like we're doing in the Atlantic, guys. But people were saying, BP, what about Hawaii? So we covered this last year, and one came through when we were watching some of those volcanic eruptions. But it's a heads up, guys. Again, I've had my eye on it. And again, Thursday, you need to be watching it. Keep an eye on your local weather, too. It's a heads up. Be safe.